Money Radio, discussing the business of making and spending money.
From the beautiful city of Abuja, it is my pleasure to warmly welcome you to today's edition of Money Radio. And this is the energy focus segment of the program on Leadership TV. Today we are discussing a topic that says, as poor power supply persists, calls intensify for electricity value chain alignment. So that is a topic. You're welcome to this program, first of all.
Thank
This
you.
is Mr. Anthony Uko, and I'm your host, Case Hammond, and we are going to be discussing the issue. Yes, as poor power supply persists, calls intensify for electricity value chain alignment. First of all, what alignment are we talking about here? We talk about electricity value chain for the purpose of not just our listeners or our viewers out there in the diaspora, but also for Nigerians. What is the value chain that we're talking about aligning here?
Yeah, we're talking about aligning the electricity, the Nigerian electricity supply chain, industry value chain. And this works in a tripod. We have the um, generators, the electricity generation companies or the generators of electricity. And then we have in the middle the transmission company.
Yeah.
And then we have those um, uh, who have the responsibility of getting this electricity to um, homes and businesses and other consumers who are the distributors.
Yeah.
And when we talk about aligning these three, we see that the issue with the Nigerian electricity value chain is such that at one point, when one seems to be working well, the other arm of the chain has issues. And at no point, for instance, when transmission generation is quite high, the transmission companies at that time would say, oh, they don't have capacity to wheel all of the power that is generated. And so a lot of the generated power gets wasted.
Yes.
And then on another point, when the transmission company seems to be okay,
Mm-hmm.
the distribution companies will say, oh, they cannot take everything that is being transmitted. So they'll be rejecting power load at that point. So, and then when this tool, the transmission and the distribution, seems to have sorted out their own issues, then the generating companies will say, we're not having enough supply of gas to generate as much as we should. Or they'll say, it's not rainy season, so the dams are not full enough for us to for the hydros to generate at full capacity. And so it continues in a vicious circle. It's one thing here, another thing there. And Nigerians and other electricity consumers are the ones bearing the whole brunt of this
Yeah,
inefficiencies.
The way you are speaking about it, many Nigerians will readily relate to this, and they will. There is that temptation to think that these people may just decide to trade blame in the real sense of trading blame, not the negative sense, the positive sense. The positive sense, what do I mean? Maybe they are, I don't know if they are in cahoots or they are collaborators or whatever word you want to use. But it's beginning to appear like they decide who to give the blame to and to who to accept it, so that Nigerians will begin to think, no, it's not always the distributors or the generators or the transmission company. So they may decide today to trade it, to give it to the generation company, the generation companies.
Yeah.
They may decide today to give it to the distribution companies. They may decide transmission company. But we have always heard this, and that is why this topic is important today, because there is need to align the, like you said, the tripod, the generation company, the transmission company, which is government, and then the distribution companies. Because it's difficult to understand. Why would you be rejecting power that is supposed to bring revenue? Why would you be rejecting power? It's difficult. It's probably the distribution companies that may, I don't know how they will be able to explain this, but we are talking about power. And of course,
Yes.
this power is supposed to earn you money. You
Yeah,
sell
you
power
know,
for money.
yes. And at the beginning, after the privatization process, the excuse then was that, um, most people are not metered. And so when it comes in, when we receive all of this, we are not able to keep track of who gets what. And then at the end of the day, we're not able to collect um, the revenues. We're not able to generate the commensurate revenue with power that is allocated to us, and so on. And so it's been an issue. Okay, as part of the agreement you signed was that consumers will be metered. So on that level, until government began to take it upon itself to fund the alongside with the World Bank to fund um, having people metered, we a lot of the distribution companies were not doing that. So also in the area of improving infrastructure as well, the distribution infrastructure, we still see that a lot of the infrastructures remain as they were, even when the since the privatization process was concluded. And even on the transmission also, it's been the same issues like I pointed out. And then, okay, on the distribution side now, they also complained that why they were not able to do this, to undertake the development that they needed to do, was because consumers were not paying um, the commensurate fees or the commensurate price for electricity.
Yeah.
And so the authorities began to increase. Okay, we want to make it a service-based tariff. The more supply you can get, the higher the price you pay for it. And as we speak, even though there's a band that some people should pay very low, um, for getting up to maybe like 4 hours of electricity, and then at the highest level should be able to get up to 20 hours of electricity, and at that level they'll pay up to between 59 to 60 naira per hour unit.
Yes.
uh, what I have seen is that I'm not so sure they have been unwilling to give a breakdown of how many consumers are on which band. But I would say that I have really not come across people who are on the E band, who pay the tariff for the E band, in which case they should have like 4 hours maximum of electricity. Most people are on the A band payment, which is
Yes.
60 naira per unit.
Per unit.
Yet many of these hardly get power up to 2 hours.
Yes.
If they have up to 4 hours power supply in a day, then
It's a blessing.
it's a blessing.
You know,
So it means that right now the service-based tariff is on. The electricity and the distribution companies are getting um, high tariff, but the consumers are not getting
high
yes,
electricity.
yes.
You know, I will say sometimes when I think about this, I am also tempted to think this whole issue of being metered and not being metered is to some extent deliberate, and it is shrouded in some degree of umbra, some degree of darkness. The reason I say so, you see this NEPA, I call them NEPA because that is the generic name. NEPA, of course, is the distribution companies, and because I don't want to point any finger at a particular distribution company, I will just say NEPA because they are all in the same practice. You see this NEPA, they have this modus operandi when you owe them as a metered customer. They have a way of collecting their money back. I will explain. There are some people who have been accused of stealing electric or bypassing power to do direct connection, thus avoiding paying or buying units for their meter. When they are caught, NEPA punishes them by not just making sure that they pay for whatever they have been using, but also that they pay an extra as penalty. And how do they make sure that they receive their money? For every recharge on that meter that was bypassed, there is a percentage that is taken out of it. So in time, take for example, you recharge with 5,000 naira. They may take 1,000 naira as your debt, but as what you owe them. And with time, you continue to reduce that debt until the debt is complete. You can, even if you throw that meter away, or you give the meter to another person who begins to use it, in the end, whoever begins to use it will inherit that debt.
That debt. It's even you're even very conservative when you say 1,000 on 5,000 naira recharge. I have seen 50%.
Very good.
I have seen 50% reduction.
Very good. Now, the direction I'm heading is this: if NEPA can collect their money from erring customers by charging them for every recharge on that meter, I don't understand what stops them from getting meters and then say, take this meter, you owe us this amount, you owe us 50,000 naira as the cost of this meter. And for every recharge, you pay a certain percentage until
you finish paying off the meter.
So this issue of metering customers is not really some kind of nuclear science. It's not a rocket science. We're not talking about it's just it's common sense. So these people, it's like they clearly do not want to meter customers because this estimated billing is in their favor. Why do I say it's in their favor? If I'm selling in Wuse market or in Balogun market or Alaba market, this phone, I know the price of this phone. I know how much it costs. I may go to the producer of this phone and get it for, say, 50,000 naira. And I bring it and I'm selling it 75,000 naira. I own this phone. This is my business. I say 75,000 naira. That is what I have in mind. And I get 25,000 naira as profit. You come as my customer and you want to buy this phone. And I say 90,000 or I say 100,000. You say, no, I can pay 90,000. I'll pay you 80,000. And I said, no, I won't pay. I won't accept 80,000. Let's do 87. And we begin to haggle the price. Originally, the profit I wanted from this will be at that 75,000 mark. But because you don't know how much I have in mind to sell this phone, you will be haggling 85, 80. Whereas It's 75,000 I want. That is my profit margin of 25,000 naira. I know it. You don't know it. The same with NEPA. If you have a meter, there is no need haggling price. You understand? But with estimated billing, they know how much they want from you. And like I said countless times on this show, these people will come to this area and they say, this area, we need 50 million naira from this area this month. And they just begin to distribute. Whether you are in your house or you are using electricity or not, they just come with that bill. You must pay because that is the only means of electricity or the power supply you can enjoy. Without that, maybe when your neighbors, there is this kind of jealousy that conjures up in us, or that having neighbors having electricity or power, NEPA power, and you don't have NEPA power, even if your generator is on, it evokes some kind of jealousy, some kind of envy that this whole place is quiet. It's only me that is making just noise with my generator, and then you want to connect. Whereas you are, this Nigerians are actually being cheated by these people. Let's take a short break. Whenever we're talking about this NEPA issue, I begin to develop headache. So let's take a short break. Let me drink some water, please. Viewers, drink some water also. We'll come back. We'll discuss the way the way forward on aligning the electricity value chain. Stay tuned.
For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.
Money Radio, discussing the business of making and spending money.
Welcome back, viewers. You're still on to Money Radio, and this is the energy focused segment of the program on Leadership TV. And we are discussing the topic that says, as power supply persists, calls intensify for electricity value chain alignment. And still in the studio discussing that is Mr. Anthony Uko as our analyst, our in-house analyst. And my name is Keith Hammond, the host. So, Mr. We have been talking about NEPA, the generic name, NEPA. All of them are in the same practice. All. If you know of any that is not in the same practice we are talking about here, and when we talk about aligning the value chain, the tripod of Nigeria's
Electricity.
the electricity industry.
Yeah.
We talk about generation,
Yeah.
transmission, and distribution. These people, it's like, I'm not saying that's what it is, but it's appearing like they decide when this problem takes place now, they say, the generation company, this is your turn to take the blame. Or the distribution company, this is your turn to take the blame. I think that is what it is. It's not really these people. They are taking Nigerians for a ride.
They actually are. Because anyway, the thing there is okay, if we want to look at the current scenario now, in the last few days, the generation companies, what we have on the national grid is around 2,000 megawatt.
The national grid.
Yes.
You mean it?
2,000 megawatts. And this 2,000 megawatts is for distribution to over 200 million people. And just a few days ago, one of the distribution companies, the one responsible for the Abuja and its the neighboring state franchise, came out to say that on a normal day it gets like up to 600 megawatts and above for distribution within 600 within its franchise states, but that for a long time now it's been getting in the neighborhood of 200 plus and minus.
There is no fuel.
And there is no fuel. And diesel price has skyrocketed. And so Nigerians are groaning. Nigerians are in, businesses are suffering. Industries are folding up. Because, before now, it was easy for them to provide alternative power supply. But the cost of providing alternative power supply is getting more and more expensive with the high cost of diesel. And so a lot of businesses are not even able to, keep up. And with all of this, when we are looking at Nigeria, we're talking about increasing production, reducing the level of imports so that the economy can grow. This is not helpful, and so for the tripod, the value chain, the electricity value chain operators, the generation companies, the transmission and distribution, it's time for you to come together to align. Like my co-host said, that please stop sharing who should take the blame. Stop sharing who should take the blame. Let there be a holistic approach at sorting out the issues of the Nigerian electricity supply industry, so that there will be much improvement. When there is like the other day, they came up with the complaint of it's not rainy season, it's dry season, so the dams are not, the water in the dam is not enough. But this is a seasonal thing.
Yes. No, let me tell you, 80% of the power we consume in Nigeria is not generated from hydro power. It's generated from gas.
It's generated
gas turbine.
from gas.
So don't let this people lie again.
And then, this time, we've been seeing some level of rain now. So I'm sure the hydro has come up to some,
it's the Ukraine war.
To some level. And then they said Oben gas plant was shut or partially shut. And so there's no supply of gas.
You'll soon begin to hear that this thing is as a result of Ukraine war.
Please, whatever.
Let me tell you something.
It's time to align, all the problems and let them be sorted out at once.
With this situation, Nigeria can compete favorably in AFTA.
It can't.
It can't. Whereas our competitors are producing at minimum cost. Nigerians are producing at maximum cost. This country is actually one of the highest when it comes to cost of manufacturing. Yes, manufacturing.
Yeah,
this is one of the highest in the world. That is just a fact. Because you have to generate your own electricity. It's not coming from anywhere. You have to generate it. That's why we say it's one of the highest in the world. Besides that, I don't know if this suggestion makes sense in Nigeria. And I think it just has to do with policies, laws, smart laws. In Nigeria, let's take, for example, let's use the education sector as an example that we can build on. In the education sector, there are three tiers, three tiers.
Yeah.
You have the federal schools, you have state, and then you have local government. Isn't that so?
Yeah.
Of course, the primary, basic primary schools is sorry,
You beg.
UBEC, that is it. Universal Basic Education. Is it not local government?
Yes.
It's local government, isn't it? Correct me if I'm wrong, please. But I know that primary education is a local government thing. Yes. We have state schools, we have federal schools. Suppose we look at it with this eye. Federal electricity. If you decide to use the federal electricity, you can connect to federal electricity. States can have the freedom to produce their own electricity and sell and make money and revenue from selling their own electricity if they have the chance to generate and distribute their own electricity, build their infrastructure. That is money. That is a veritable revenue source. And even we can give it to the local governments. If they have the means, let them generate their own electricity and provide to those areas where they are lacking. If we depend on only the national grid, it's not going to work like that. I don't think it's going to work like that. Look,
Yes,
Nigeria right now, even with the inadequate electricity that is generated, we're talking about Nigerians consuming up to, on average now, from reports which have been confirmed, 70,000 megawatts. Out of that, 4,000 comes from, in fact, it's lower than 4,000.
It's lower than 4,000 right
Maybe
now.
we can say 2,005 comes from the national grid.
grid.
The rest is actually generated and distributed. Of course, when you generate electricity by yourself, you have to distribute it to yourself. So the rest is actually 66,000 megawatts is actually generated and distributed to individuals. By and to individuals. So if the states had the power to generate their own electricity and distribute, that is a revenue source, and it's probably a sure a state like Lagos can actually succeed in that. A state like Rivers can actually succeed in that. A state like Akwa Ibom can actually succeed in that. A state like Kaduna, Kano, these are, these are areas where we can explore. Let's have federal electricity supply, state electricity supply, and if possible, local government electricity supply. These things may actually reduce the pressure on this 4,000 national grid. That never goes up or comes down. No, it comes down, but it never goes up.
It comes down, but it doesn't go up. So I know these suggestions have been brought before, and the authorities have always said, oh, we've not the infrastructure is not adequate on the national.
Let them build their own infrastructure. Who told them that states can build? If states can build their own roads, why can't they build the electricity infrastructure? How much is it? Can you tell me Lagos State can't produce their own electricity? They can.
They can.
They can.
They can. It's just I'm trying to envisage to see how it will be. We have all the wires connected already, and they are coming from one source. So when the Lagos State, for instance, now is done generating its own power, where do they connect?
I can explain, and although I'm not an expert, I think my explanation may make some sense. The power we are receiving in this building now, if you increase this power, it will go through the same wires, but you will have brighter electricity. Or let's put it this way. There is the federal or the national grid, which is being produced and distributed. If the states can produce theirs there is the infrastructure and there is the technology to put that same electricity, just add it, and it will go further. That is the way it works. Once you add it, it's simple. It's not a difficult thing. You add it, and then you can do the sharing formula. Look, this electricity which we supply to the residents of Lagos or the industries of Lagos for the month of May, you brought 10,000 megawatts. I brought 20,000 megawatts. Out of the 30,000 megawatts that we produce in Lagos, maybe 15 billion is generated from the electricity supply. Those who brought 10,000 megawatts take their 5,000. Those who brought 20,000 take their 10,000. That is the perfect sharing formula. Put it through the same infrastructure, the same distribution infrastructure. The reason why we don't have the electricity is because it is not there. If the electricity were available, it will be passed into those same wires and we'll have the light.
But at times where the generation companies are able to generate at least to a level higher than this, we have where they say the transmission companies cannot will it.
That is where the state governments can even do it. They can come and add those their little. What is it? It's not just transformers and wires. It's transformers and wires.
I just wish that electricity was like gas that you can actually bottle up. Bottle up like we have the gas cylinders where you can just, take the gas, the cylinders to your house, connect them to and so it will be.
This thing to me it makes sense. The reason why we don't have light is because there is no light, there's no current in the wires, and because it's not being generated, it's not being distributed. Just produce the electricity and it will go through the wires. If you produce more electricity, our houses and those wires will not get burned. It's because we don't have the electricity. That's the reason why we don't have the power in our houses or in our industries. Yes, that is it. So just provide the power. And if you add, if these state governments were given a chance that they could add their own whatever they generate to the national grid. There was a policy like that before.
Yes,
when
some
Akwa was producing,
states,
and the federal government said add it to the national grid, and then you go and distribute it to every other person using my state resources to produce to every other person.
By the time it goes into the national grid, I'm not sure they'll be able to say, everything will be distributed by their own.
No, but states, of course, the people who are the revenue of these states that they want to invest in electricity. Actually, you are going to benefit other state residents if you are putting everything into the national grid. So if states were allowed to generate and distribute in their own states.
Yes, generate and distribute in your own state. And then if you have excess, you send to the national grid.
Thank you. You get the point.
Yes.
You get the point. I think that is common sense. If the sense is common, I hope I'm not speaking out of knowledge. I think it sounds.
I think we would need to bring an expert.
Maybe we need to bring an expert
who would explain better how this works.
Yes.
But it's really, really necessary that all the
tripod aligns
so that
policies, policies, right laws, that is smart laws, will make these people align. Look, everybody, just like this man, Adam Smith said, the baker you see out there is not baking because he loves you. He wants profit.
Of course.
Make this thing something that people can profit from, something that people can develop their individual states from or their local government. People will invest in it. People are looking at investment channels or outlets, avenues to make money and better their lives. So let's just adopt the right policies, smart policies, and these things will be. These are not nuclear science, So I hope we have. Thank you for being here again.
All right.
Thanks to you, our producers, and to you who follow us loyally on this program. We say our biggest thanks to you. Those of you following us for the first time, you're always welcome to join us on Money Radio. Tomorrow we'll be back here with another segment of the program. It will be a bumper one, yes. And until then, have a great day.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.